Louisa May Alcott's Little Women, I mean, it's been a classic for over 150 years, but what is it about this story that gives it such incredible staying power? Well, in this explainer, we're going to dig into a hidden key to the whole thing. This idea that the March sisters' journey isn't just about growing up, it's a pilgrimage, a path packed with trials and temptations, all leading them toward their very own celestial city.
So the story kicks off on this really bleak note. It's a cold winter during the American Civil War, and the March family's world is just defined by this huge absence. Their father is away at war. This one sentence immediately tells you everything you need to know about the emotional stakes. The girls aren't just dealing with everyday problems, they're living under the shadow of this much bigger, scarier, uncertain conflict.
So, where does a pilgrimage like this even begin? Well, if you know John Bunyan's The Pilgrim's Progress, it starts in the city of destruction. Now, for the March sisters, this isn't some city of sin. It's a city of discontent. They're struggling with being poor, they're longing for nice things they can't have, and they're really feeling the weight of their own flaws. It's a whole state of mind they have to escape.
This is just such a brilliant move by their mother, Marmee. She gives them this amazing tool. She reframes their entire life as a game they used to play, turning their house into this symbolic map. All of a sudden, their daily struggles aren't just chores and frustrations anymore. No, now they're obstacles on a grand journey toward becoming better people, toward reaching their own celestial city. Okay, so every pilgrim on a journey carries a burden, right? Some personal flaw or challenge they've got to learn to overcome. And for the March sisters, it's no different. In fact, each of their individual burdens is going to define her entire story arc.
Before we get into the details, Alcott's narrator kind of winks at us here. She doesn't just give us a list of their traits, she invites us to discover them through what they do and say. It's like a promise that we're about to meet some really vivid, really complex people.
And here they are. You've got Meg, the classic beauty. Then there's Jo, the fiery, totally unconventional tomboy. Beth is the gentle, timid soul. And finally, Amy, the artistic and, let's be honest, sometimes vain youngest sister. 4 totally different personalities, and each one is about to set off on her own path. For Meg, she's the oldest. Her big struggle is between duty and desire. Her burden is her vanity and this deep, deep longing for a life of luxury. She hates the grind of being a governess because it's just a constant reminder of everything she doesn't have. Her whole pilgrimage is going to be about learning to value what she does have. Now for 15-year-old Jo, her burden is that explosive temper and her fierce, desperate need for freedom. She feels completely trapped by her job and really by what's expected of girls in her time. Her anger isn't just a flaw, it's a rebellion. In an age where women were supposed to be quiet and agreeable, her temper is her bosom enemy. Why? Because it threatens to cut her off from everyone, even as it fuels that amazing spirit of hers. And poor, gentle Beth, her burden is this really profound shyness. It basically keeps her a prisoner in her own home, and even there, she struggles. The endless, boring chores feel completely overwhelming, and they get in the way of the one thing she loves, her music. Her journey is all about finding the courage to step out into the world, even just a little bit. And finally, Amy. As the youngest, her burden is definitely her vanity and this obsession with social status. She gets so hurt by the mean girls at school who make fun of her looks or her family's poverty. Her path is going to be all about learning the difference between looking elegant on the surface and having true, deep character. So they've all got their burdens. Now comes the hard part, facing trials that put them to the test. And these aren't just some abstract moral lessons, you know? They are real, painful experiences that force them to look their biggest flaws right in the eye. Meg's big test is this classic conflict of values. At a fancy party, she completely gives in to her vanity. She lets her wealthy friends dress her up like a doll. I mean, she's literally trying on a life that isn't hers. But her real trial comes later, when she has to choose between marrying for money and her feelings for the poor tutor, John Brooke. And by defending him, she rejects all that false finery for true affection. Okay, this next trial, this might be the most dramatic part of the entire book. And it doesn't just involve one sister, but 2. When Jo's fiery temper crashes head-on with Amy's vanity, the results are almost tragic. It pushes their relationship right to the breaking point. It all starts with something so simple, a stupid argument. But Amy's revenge is just catastrophic.
She burns the book of stories that Jo has poured her entire heart into. Jo's rage is so intense, she can't even think about forgiving her. And then, the crisis. Jo sees Amy skating toward thin ice, and because she's still so angry, she doesn't warn her. When Amy falls in, Jo is suddenly faced with the terrifying, real-life consequences of her temper. And this desperate cry to Marmee, wow, it just shows you how deeply this whole thing has shaken Jo to her core. This is a major turning point. She finally understands that her temper isn't just some personality quirk. It's a destructive force that could literally, as she says, spoil her life. From this moment on, her main mission, her pilgrimage, is to conquer that anger. But of course, no pilgrimage is meant to be walked alone. And for the March sisters, help arrives from the most unlikely place, that grand lonely mansion right next door, home to the Laurence family. In this amazing moment of insight, it's Beth who makes the connection crystal clear. In the Pilgrim's Progress, the Palace Beautiful is a place of rest for weary travelers. And for the March girls, the Lawrence's home, with its warmth and books and music, becomes exactly that. It's a refuge, and a place full of new possibilities. But before this palace can really open its doors to them, there's a mystery to solve. From their windows, the girls are always watching the lonely grandson of old Mr. Laurence. So, who is this boy next door? The neighborhood gossip basically paints this picture of a boy who's isolated and maybe a little sad. Yeah, he's rich, but he seems to be suffering for society and fun. And in classic Jo fashion, she decides she's going to be the one to fix this problem. And it all comes down to a simple act of kindness from Jo. She throws a snowball up to Laurie's window while he's sick, marches right over with some food and Beth's kittens, and starts a friendship that changes all of their lives. That lonely mansion is finally transformed into their Palace Beautiful. Okay, so this brings us to the final stage of their journey. Now that they've faced their burdens and passed their trials, the sisters start to build their own castles in the air, their own unique ideas of a happy, fulfilled life, their own celestial city. For Meg, this means making a final, clear choice. Aunt March offers her the world's version of a castle, a rich marriage for security and status. But Meg, having learned her lesson about what really matters, chooses her own castle, a small house built on a foundation of love and partnership with John Brooke. Jo's celestial city isn't a place, it's a purpose. After trying to write all these sensational, dramatic stories just for money, she finally writes a simple story that comes from her own life, from her own family. And her father's praise here just reveals the secret. Her success doesn't come from chasing fame, but from writing with truth and with heart. She's found her real voice. You know, in the end, the pilgrimage of the Little Women leads them all to this one profound truth. Their individual castles, their dreams, those are important. But the true celestial city, the ultimate destination that lasts through hardship and separation and even death, is the unbreakable bond of family. It's a love made immortal, a love that keeps them nearest and dearest evermore.